Okay, we're moving on to, I believe this is part 6 now. This is Article 38, Protection of Cultural Heritage and Intellectual Property. Indigenous people have the right to this is part 1, this is 1. Indigenous people have the right to full recognition and respect for their property, ownership, possession, control, development, and protection of their tangible and intangible cultural heritage and intellectual property, including its collective nature, transmitted through millennia from generation to generation. Okay, let me address a topic. I had established, because I did a lot of things out of just the gift that the Most High has given me to create. He allowed me to create companies. One Step Ahead Detective Agency, In the Balance CPR Services, In Demand Private Security, but I didn't know anything about business, and I still don't really. But I was just a person that's just not afraid to go for it. But I didn't know I don't need a license to do anything. So because I'm respectful, I contacted the Department of what is it? Department of Security Investigative Services, and I ceased and desist and rescinded my signature from the license. Now it's up to them if they have ownership of that or not. But my intellectual property is the names. So I can still work those businesses if I choose to under the name, but I would work that out with them because I went into their territory as far as licensing at first. So I would respectfully talk to them, see how we can work this out, that I can keep my intellectual property in their licenses, and we see how all that stuff works. But I chose not to do it because I found out that industry, and I don't speak of all people, but that industry has been a part, and I'm not saying them, but some in that industry has been a part of this gang stalking. That's why I chose to disassociate myself with that once I found out about what's going on. Now, in the future, if I find a way to be an asset to the community, to the indigenous people of the land, then I would recoup, and I would go ahead and continue that service, but in my proper nationality and in my proper nationality name, according to my indigenous right. So, like I said, all my actions in good faith intent to help and not to harm. So at this time, I don't see how I could do that without harming people because of what's going on. But if I find a way, and the Most High gives me the inspiration to find a way to be a help to the indigenous people and to the nation as a whole, then I would do something like that. But just letting you know, because there are those who would try to entrap you and try to bring you into their corruption, and I deny that. I do not claim it. I object to it, because I would never hurt anyone with that intent, with the intent to harm them. So everything I do is in good faith and intent to bring life and to help. That's my intent, and that's the intent, I believe, of the indigenous people. We are a peaceful people. So that being said, let me move on. Let's see here. Where was I at? And also that that business that I had created originally as that was what's it called? Sole proprietor, was in the name of my estate, the given name. And everything I'm saying is honest and true. I'm not hiding, and everything I'm telling you the truth. Now, if anybody try to pull me into anything, that's on them in bad faith. But I'm telling you, all my actions were in good faith. And then once I found out I didn't need to have a license, that's why I rescinded my signatures from those licenses. Because business people don't have to have a license to do their business. That's what I say. As I know better, I do better. And also, like I said, I'm just speaking the truth. And this is not no acknowledgement to remain in their jurisdiction. I'm just telling the truth. I'm not going to lie to you. So that's why I rescinded my signature from those licenses, and I remain and reserve all of my rights as being indigenous to operate in my proper capacity. All right, let's see where I left off at. Protection of culturally. Let me just read it again because I forgot where I left off. All right. 1. Indigenous people have the right to full recognition and respect for their property ownership, possession, control, development, and protection of their intangible and intangible cultural heritage and intellectual property, including its collective nature transmitted through millennia from generation to generation. Also, let me throw this in there too when I was speaking about when I did do business. Like I said, I had no idea what I was doing, but I just had the motivation to try to make it happen. I never had any employees. I never was big time. I ain't never had no big great contracts. None of that stuff. I operated as a one man show, and then when I did do it, I would have someone that I considered a friend, or somebody off the street that I knew to do something here or there. But I never had no employees. So, nor did I ever have any major contracts or anything like that I signed. So that's on the record. You see, for their property ownership, possession, control, development, and protection of their tangible and intangible cultural heritage and intellectual property, including its collective nature transmitted through millennia from generation to generation. 2. The collective intellectual property of the indigenous peoples include inter alia, traditional knowledge and traditional cultural expressions, including traditional knowledge associated with genetic resources, ancestral designs, and procedures, cultural, artistic, spiritual, technological, and scientific expressions, tangible and intangible cultural heritage, as well as the knowledge and developments of their own related to biodiversity and utility and qualities of seeds and medicinal plants, flora, and fauna. 3. Capital S states, with the full and effective participation of indigenous peoples, shall adopt measures necessary to ensure that national and international agreements and regimes provide recognition and adequate protection for the cultural heritage of indigenous peoples and intellectual property associated with that heritage. In adopting these measures, consultations shall be effective, intended to obtain the free, prior, and informed consent of indigenous peoples. Let's see where we at. Article 29, right to development. Okay. 1. Indigenous people have the right to maintain and determine their own priorities with respect to their political, economic, social, and cultural developments in conformity with their own worldview. They also have the right to be guaranteed the enjoyment of their own means of sustenance and development, and to engage freely in all their economic activities. 2. This right includes the development of policies, plans, programs, and strategies in the exercise of their right to development and to implement them in accordance with their political and social organization norms, procedures, their own world views, and institutions. All right, let me move on to part 7.